Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome back to Mid-Table Crisis. We took a brief sabbatical, slightly enforced due to technical issues, but now we're back to give you the latest in the footballing world. Aren't we, Tom?
Yes, we are. We are back, and we're back with a bang. And that bang just exploded off David Miller's forehead. More on that later. But, Simon, what have you been doing in our little day off?
Oh, well, in our time off, all manner of things have happened. One which you've just alluded to, the Pardew Headbutt. Of course, that's what we're going to dive straight into. But we like to give you a little bit of a taster, an entree menu into what we're going to cover. So you've had your first entree with the Alan Pardew Headbutt. We're also going to bring you our thoughts on Sol Campbell's quite strong comments he's made about the state of the England captaincy and race in football. We're going to, of course, cover. We've had a trophy won in the time we've been away, so we're going to talk about the League Cup final. We're going to talk about the first German manager in the Premier League, Felix Magath. We're going to talk about the state of the Euro 2016 draw. Mm-hmm. We had an England game as well. It's all kicked off. Of all the weeks for our technology to fail, it's this one. We're going to talk about the England-Denmark game. And we're going to share the love that's been given to us by a particularly eager fan on YouTube.
Yeah, if we're going to be sharing that love, I think we should definitely be wearing protection. But, yeah, I mean, we mentioned it earlier. We've got to talk about it. Alan Pardew, that headbutt. I mean, what did he think he was doing? If you haven't seen it, first of all, you don't have eyes. But just in case, calling it headbutts may be a little bit harsh. But, yeah.
For our many blind listeners, blind people can't view. Sorry, that was a bit insensitive. For our many blind listeners, describe the situation to us, Tom.
Basically, Milo comes off the pitch to grab the ball. A bit of aggro with Pardew, nothing much. He comes up to him, they have a quick word back and forth, and then there's a bit of a pushing motion with the head. You'd say, he's not going to do him any damage, but Milo is understandably incensed, and the referee comes across, gives him a yellow, and sends Pardew to the stands. And, £100,000 in a fine, and he's probably going to be banned from the stadium for the rest of the season. Well, at least banned from the dugout.
Well, you have to think if Paul Ince got a 5-game stadium ban for repeated use of abusive language, headbutting a player's got to get you at least 8 to 10 games,
if not more.
Well, Cantona had a extended period for kung fu kicking a supporter.
Yeah, but that kind of stuff's become commonplace now, I'd say. No, I mean, it is bizarre to see. I think there's a double threat here. I mean, obviously the FA could throw the book at him, but so could Newcastle. I think at the moment he'll probably be okay at Newcastle because he's mates with Mike Ashley, but he's treading on very thin ice. And when it comes to the FA, they might make an example of him.
Well, I think that it's not like the first time he's had incidents like this. He's pushed over an assistant linesman before.
Yeah.
He's mouthed off at Pellegrini, making, shall we say, very pointed references to his age.
Yeah, very pointed indeed. There's been a few other incidents as well, which kind of, to a certain extent, he's come out, he's apologised, he said it was stupid. Well, yeah, we already knew that, Alan. Why did you do it then? I think if he does lose his job, which is a possibility, I don't think it's that likely, but...
Not now. Not now Newcastle have already acted.
Yeah.
Unless he does something worse.
But I think, if he will eventually leave Newcastle. Where will he go then? A top club's not going to take him.
Not with behaviour like that. I see where you're coming from. Like, it's not exactly it undermines his position. How can you discipline, big players when you've been sent to, you've had bans before for nutting someone? It's...
Yeah, ridiculous.
It just brings the whole management thing into disrepute. I mean, I heard some people saying, well, why do we have the dugouts? Why aren't coaches in, little technical boxes like they are in rugby? And I, for one, quite like the dugout. It's a nice thing, but people are taking advantage, and it's just some rules aren't being enforced. And I hope, for one, that Pardew does get a lengthy ban, and hopefully it'll make managers sit up and pay attention, that it can't just, rule their little technical fiefdom the way they do.
What rules aren't being enforced, do you mean,
Well,
in regards to dugouts?
you saw there's clips of Mourinho in recent games, and he's not even in the dugout. He's walked onto the pitch to make a point.
Yeah.
For one, stay where there is a line, stay within it. Two, just because that is your line and you should stay within it, doesn't mean you get carte blanche over what happens there. So, intimidating officials, headbutting players, obviously, I can't believe I should have to bring this up. This doesn't seem like, I know football's a crazy sport, but it doesn't seem like we should have to talk about this in the modern day. This seems like something that comes out of an 80s, old school story about a manager, not in 2014.
He's a bit old to all his parts. Yeah, it's crazy. I don't think we'll see something like that happening again. Not while Paolo Di Canio's out of management. So,
see, a manager like that, you should understand. If you told me Paolo had done it, I wouldn't accept it or anything. But you know what? It'd fit the story a little better. Pardew, yeah, I know he's got previous, but it does reek of a passionate manager. But look at the situation. They were 3-1 up in a game. There wasn't exactly any pressure on his shoulders at the time he did it.
It just makes me sad that we never, we didn't. Well, I think we only ever saw one Paolo Pardew derby. I'd love to see them going head to head. I'm just saying, Sunderland are playing Newcastle 3-1, and to Sunderland, Loic Remy scores an overhead kick from 25 yards. Pardew celebrates in front of Di Canio, and they joust in some sort of ungainly manner. That was my dream.
That was your dream. And who knows, maybe one day, due to financial need, you'll see them go head to head in the ring.
Maybe. I certainly wouldn't mind going head to head in his ring, I'd say that.
You're pure filth, you know that.
Yes.
Yes. So I'm going to throw it out there. I've said 8 to 10 games. I think my feelings are quite clear on this.
Yeah.
What do you think Pardew's punishment should be?
End of the season stadium ban, and take it from there. To be honest, the fines are to a certain extent irrelevant unless they get really big. So I would say
a bit of community service, perhaps. Maybe make him do a respect campaign video explaining why what he did was wrong.
Yeah, that'd be good, because if you're finding a millionaire, what's the point?
That's all relative, isn't it?
Yeah, a bit like Alison. So yeah, I'd agree with you there.
And we go from one black and white story to a legend that used to play in black and white, Sol Campbell, who has made some quite inflammatory comments about the FA this week.
Yeah, that was a bit of an odd one. He was saying that he'd been captain for 10 years if he'd have been white.
I'd argue in Sol's case it wouldn't have mattered if he was black or white. I think there were better leaders.
Yeah, he did actually captain.
Some folks will like the little Michael Jackson reference I've put in.
Yeah. I was not going to mention that. But you went in there like Bodicea with a kit off, so fair play to you. But yeah, as you said then, I don't think it would have mattered too much, mainly because of the players that were around him. In his time, he had 73 caps for England. In that time, there was Tony Adams, David Beckham, Paul Ince,
Steven Gerrard to later years, John.
Yeah, he's not. He wouldn't pick him as captain ahead of any of them. So there's a slight chance that it maybe cost him 1 or 2 games as captain, but that's it. He did play 3 games as captain in 73 appearances. So
2 of which were under
Huddle.
Hoddle, yes, of course. 2 of which were under Glenn Hoddle, and the other one I do know definitively was under Sven in 2005 in a friendly against the USA.
They're all friendlies, weren't they?
I believe so. And it's You hear things in the media about like players who are natural leaders, and like you see players talk about locker room atmospheres, like who's the leader in the locker room. Sol Campbell was never a name that got flagged up.
Not really, no. Towards the end of his career, I could imagine him having a bit of influence, but not in the same way as someone like
Ince.
Tony Adams did.
Or Paul.
Yeah, Ince as well.
Yeah. But I do think he's got a point to an extent with the lack of black captains for England. I can only think of 3, maybe 4. Rio Ferdinand, Paul Ince, Sol Campbell himself, I'm including him to help my argument, and Ashley Cole. In terms of captains that were the named captains, not ones that get like the armband when it's tossed about in friendlies, but in terms of named captains for games, there's 4 that I can think of that are black.
Yeah, I can't really think of many others.
If fans out there can think of any others, we'd like to hear from you, of course.
Drop us a hit on the Facebooks, or on the Twitters,
or by email, or on our YouTube page. We'd love
whatever you want. Yeah, we always love to hear from you, especially you, Onmists.
So he's got a point. I think the lack of black captains for England, considering how many black players play for England in the modern day, I know it's a recent phenomenon, relatively, but he may very well have a point. Definitely. It's hard to say, because you want people to be picked on like leadership and not skin colour. You don't want like I know some people were on about the Rooney rule for managers when black managers were highlighted last season. I don't think we want to get that far because we want to pick people on merit. And you hope, but with that is the hope that people's merit shines through above all else, and that may or may not be the case still. I mean, it's hard for us to say. I mean, we are 2 white men. We don't know what life as a black man is like in the day and age today.
We definitely do not.
So, in summation, he's right to highlight the issue, but to use himself as an example, I think, doesn't really apply.
It doesn't really ring true. If he'd have come out and said there's not been enough black English captains, that would have been fine. But to say there's not been enough black English captains, look at me, I should have been captain for 10 years, that would have... Yeah. Too far.
Yeah. I can't think of many people that think Sol Campbell would have been a captain for 10 years, apart from maybe Sol Campbell.
And Sol Campbell's brother, and maybe his nan.
Perhaps.
Oh.
So, yeah, I mean, we're going to stick with the Northeast.
Always a good place to be.
Depending on TripAdvisor and, reviews and whatnot. We've spoke about Newcastle and ex-Newcastle players quite heavily, but now we're going to go to Sunderland, who of course fought valiantly in the League Cup final, but alas, it was not to be, was it, Tom?
No, I mean, it was always going to be a tough game against Manchester City, the amount of goals they scored this season. And they did start brightly. Barini got a good goal for them.
Well, they led.
In the first half, yeah.
Period, didn't they?
Yeah, but then Toure scored an absolute cracker after half-time. And they were still reading from that when Nasri blasted one in a minute or 2 later.
Do you think Toure meant it as a shot, or what? Do you think it was a cross?
He meant it as a shot, but I don't think he meant for it to be quite that sweet. I think he was a bit surprised by how well it went. But he'll probably say that he meant it in the post-match interview. But I thought it was a wonderful goal. I don't think anyone who watched it could say otherwise.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, I'm not disputing that for a second. I'm just wondering whether or not that was his game plan when he hit the ball.
Not exactly that, but he was going for a shot.
Yeah.
He was probably looking to put a bit of swerve on it, but as it happened, he absolutely ping right into the bit of ping and swerve. It was gorgeous.
And of course, from that, you say Nasri scored soon after.
Yeah, another good goal. Ran onto it and thundered it in.
I mean, he's playing well recently, Samir Nasri. He's just come back from injury quite recently, but he's ticking a lot of boxes.
Yeah, doesn't make me hate him any less though. Certainly not.
I know. You're not a fan of the old mercenary style footballer.
No, I am not.
Of course, by the time the third went in, it was all she wrote, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it was virtually 90 minutes anyway when Navas killed them off with a knife in the arse.
And you've been hanging around and eating bars too long, mate.
Yeah, I have. That's what they give you if you ask for a cocktail.
You joke about that, but I reckon there is a knife in the arse cocktail out there somewhere.
Yeah, and you probably drank it.
I've had many arse knifings in... No, let's not go down there. Anyway, so it's the first trophy Man City have won this season. Can you see them winning any more?
Yes. Maybe not 4 of them in all, but I'd say probably at least another one. What exactly that one will be, I'm not sure. FA Cup surely is the most likely one.
Okay. So you reckon they'll do the Cup double?
Yep, and possibly the Premier League. No more than that.
Well, that's going to go to the wire. I think we're all agreed on that.
Yeah.
Well, we should say well done to Manchester City, naturally.
Okay.
It's a trophy that, they've earned it.
Certainly have. And I think the League Cup is a little bit devalued these days, so let's hear it for the FA Cup. A good cup. A fun cup. A cup that we enjoy. Definitely.
And, yeah, I mean, it certainly means 6th place, because let's face it, Man City are going to be top 4.
Yeah.
It certainly means that 6th place is now fighting for in the Premier League, which makes things a little more interesting again. Well, it makes things even more interesting. I think if Sunderland had won the League Cup, a little of the sting would have gone out the race for 5th, 6th and 7th.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong, of course.
It happens.
It does happen. We have been wrong before. But there we go. You win some, you lose some. And speaking of those who are winning a lot less than they should be, Fulham have changed manager, as I'm sure you're all now well aware. And yeah, Felix Magath's the man in charge now.
He certainly is. Not long after Methuselah dropped off the earth. That's Rennie Moulenstein, to those of you who are uninitiated. After just 17...
Tom likes to invent a few terms for people. Simon
likes to invent lovers. Out of wood and rubber and skin. And yeah, Magath took over from Moulenstein after just 17 games and 90 days in charge. And so far it's not gone brilliantly. But he's actually claimed it's the biggest challenge of his life. The 6-year-old German. The first German manager in the Premier League.
Yeah, I'm surprised by that.
Me and Simon were both perplexed at that fact, weren't we?
It's quite shocking, really, that you think a fine footballing nation such as Germany, we haven't had a manager from that nation in the Premier League yet. That's a little surprising.
Definitely. Quite odd.
Yeah. It confuses the hell out of both of us. But despite the change, which I think was a bit unnecessary, I mean, 3 managers in one season doesn't have any, resemblance of a long-term plan.
Yeah, certainly not.
Do you think it's going to help at all?
It's going to make a difference. Not necessarily a good difference, not necessarily a bad one.
Well, all changes generally make a difference.
Yeah, like when you had that face installed. I would... it'll probably do them a bit of good, but I can still see them going down. They'll still be my first pick to go down, to be honest.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think they're circling the drain.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got their next 5, if you'd all care to listen.
Yep, go. Hit me in the face.
Cool. Well, their next 5, they've got Cardiff away, which I think we now agree is now a huge game.
Massive. That's a real 6-pointer. The one who loses that will possibly go down, especially if it's Fulham.
Are you willing to pin your colours to the mast on that one?
If Fulham lose that game, I'd say they're going down.
You heard it here first, fans. You heard it here first. But we'll run the rest of the next 5 through, just in case they do win that game. And if Tom is wrong. After Cardiff away, they've got Newcastle at home, which not an easy game by any stretch of the imagination.
Tough.
And it gets even tougher, because after that they've got Man City at the Etihad. I think a lot of people will be putting their over 2.5 goal scorecasts on for that game.
Yeah, I was going to say, not a lot of money being bet on Fulham that day.
No, they are certainly the shot in the dark, to say the least. You've got to have a crystal ball or beyond crystal meth, really, to be backing that one.
Or live in a Crystal Palace.
Well, yeah, perhaps. And it doesn't get much better after that because they host Everton at the Craven Cottage afterwards.
Yeah, you'd expect Everton to walk away with the points there as well.
And to round it off, they play at Aston Villa after that. So there's 4, maybe 6 points there. I can see them getting.
Yeah, and they're going to have to struggle for them. McGath is going to have to do a lot. He's going to have to get the belief back, get them playing together, get a unit, get a team.
Mm.
And the moment Fulham don't really look like a team, they really need to work on that.
It's certainly a lot to do in a very short period of time. But then again, there's been so many cooks in that broth. Who knows what's really going on?
Yeah.
You've had Jarl, Mullenstein, McGath, technical director Kirbishley. You've had Wilkins in there. But Fulham have played 28 games and they've only got 21 points to show for it. So they've left it too late, really, haven't they?
Yeah, it's going to be a low points total to stay up this season, but it's not going to be that low.
No. I mean, so let's be generous and give them 4 points after the next 5. They'd end up on 33 points and 33 games and 25 points. That's not enough.
Definitely not.
You want to, if you're going to be safe, you want to have, by the time the 33rd, 34th game comes around, you want to be like late 30s, really.
It depends on the final few games. 38, 39 points is probably going to be enough to stay up this season.
Okay. Another Tom Patrick prediction. We're going to come back to that and see if we're right.
Well, Solskjaer said 37. I reckon it might be slightly higher. But, yeah, 39 would be home and clear, but they're not going to get, I'd say they're struggle to make 35.
Yeah.
By the end of the season myself.
Well,
but it all depends on how how quickly he manages to get them playing his kind of football.
Well, he'll have plenty of time to do it in the Championship. Or will he? It's quite a fickle, mate. It's quite a fickle job this year. It's quite a fickle. It's quite
fickle.
It's quite fickle, yeah. Just, I was trying to think of something clever and witty to say, but yeah, but we all know that's not why you guys tune in.
I was going to say, you do realise this is mid-table crisis. Yeah, but good luck to McGath because I do like Fulham, despite what I've said. I just think they're just not at the races this season. But,
yeah, I don't think people wish them misfortune, particularly.
No,
they're not a hated club, are they, by any stretch?
No,
but
definitely not.
Who knows? Maybe he is the man to turn it all around. Maybe we're wrong. Like, I'd like to think we're not. I've said maybe we're wrong a lot, so I'm hoping that a lot of what we said does happen now, because otherwise we're going to look a little out of place.
Foolish
indeed. We go from a little European injection to Fulham in the form of a German manager to a little European injection into our lives. The Euro 2016 draw happened in the past week. So, thoughts?
England's group could have been a lot worse.
England could have been a lot worse. Let's just clarify England's group. To all those that kept in the dark, I mean, there's not many of you left by now. I understand that we're a little late to this rodeo, but England's group is England, Switzerland, Slovenia, Estonia, Lithuania, and the one little plucky underdog we always seem to get, San Marino.
San Marino, do-do-do-do. Dan Marino, do-do-do-do. Yeah, San Marino again. That's going to be a...
What were you doing then?
What?
What was that? What did you just do?
You'll have to listen to it back. But please enjoy it responsibly. Yeah, I think that's a relatively easy group, all things considered. It could have been a lot worse.
The top 2 go through automatically now.
Yeah, with the 2014 format. So England got a lot to be thankful for.
I mean, you look at the groups throughout, and there's no real difficult group for any team, really. I mean, you look at, for example, our group especially. Like that's one that you would fancy ourselves in.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I think it's going to be a cakewalk for most of the top seeded teams. I really do.
Yeah, there's always a few weaker teams in the draw for Europe. There's going to be a few thrashings, as usual, I'd say. Business as usual.
Well, we'll look at the other home nations groups, and perhaps we can illustrate our point a bit further.
Yeah.
Republican Ireland and Scotland and Gibraltar, because yes, I do count Gibraltar as a home nation. Deal with it, Spain. They're all grouped together in Group D. So you've got Germany, Poland, Georgia, Gibraltar, Scotland, and Republic of Ireland. And I think one home nation is going to go through automatically. I've got a sneak feeling Scotland might get top two.
Possibility.
The way they're playing at the moment, if they can keep that going, they're onto something, you know.
Certainly are.
Ireland could sneak playoffs. It's not beyond the realms of possibility. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm gutted we didn't draw Gibraltar, because that would have been a great mid-table crisis away day.
We do love our mid-table crisis away days. Often with, separately, not together, but it does happen occasionally. Like that Luton Town game. Oh dear.
Oh, that was a sight to behold. But yeah, enough of cold, windy days in the Neaton.
You were windy, weren't you?
Ate that burger at half time. It was nice, but it does have an effect on you.
Yeah, your guts fell out your arse.
And from my digestive tract, we go to the group of Wales.
As often happens, the group of Wales. There were some interesting ones in here, weren't there?
Well, it's Bosnia, Belgium, Israel, Wales, Cyprus, and Andorra. So, top two is going to be hard for Wales because there's two footballing forces there in Bosnia and Belgium.
To be honest, it's always going to be hard for Wales because they're not that good.
Well, they've got great individuals, but overall, you're right, a bit lacking.
Not a great team.
Well, so you don't expect them to go through? Maybe get playoffs? I think playoffs is possible.
Yeah, playoffs are about the best that they'll get, in my opinion.
I think they're helped a lot by the fact that you've only got to be third to still. You can be third in a group and still have a chance now.
Yeah, certainly. Massive help for them.
I mean, this expansion's really interesting. I want to see how it turns out long term, but we're going to get to see some different teams at the Euros, hopefully.
We certainly hope so.
I mean, and there's 8 extra slots, so we better do.
Love them slots.
One team which I don't think will make it, they've got an outside chance of playoffs, perhaps, but not top two, not automatically, is Northern Ireland, the other home nation we've not mentioned yet. Their group is Greece, Hungary, Romania, Finland, Faroe Islands, and Northern Ireland. Bit tricky, that one.
Yeah. Northern Ireland are going to struggle anyway, obviously they're not a big country. But there's a few winnable games in there. They can get a few points off some teams.
Yeah. It's not just about being a big country. I mean, Uruguay have a population of 4 million and they've won 2 World Cups.
Yes, but they were a while ago.
True. But I feel somewhat justified by that. But in terms of Northern Ireland, I think you're right. I think that's a little too much for them.
Yeah, I understand. I understand where you're coming from.
But it was an interesting little statistic anomaly, which, well, not anomaly, like little statistical, cute little fact that happened. There were 2 sets of teams that weren't allowed to play each other in this, Tom. Obviously, we've spoken about they weren't meant to be free, but Russia and Georgia agreed to put their differences over South Ossetia aside, for the sake of football. But Spain were not allowed to play Gibraltar because Spain don't think Gibraltar's a thing. And Azerbaijan weren't allowed to play Armenia because of the dispute over the Nagorno-Karabakh state within Azerbaijan, which is predominantly Armenian. I mean, it's worth looking into, mid-table crisis fans, the whole Azerbaijan-Armenia situation. But I'm not here to give you a history lesson. I'm just here to tell you that both those exclusions did actually draw each other. So that was a nice little cute fact. Certainly.
Cute as a badger's arse. I enjoyed it, and
what, the badger or I'm not going? Let's not go down this path.
Definitely not. Especially not down the Badgers path.
Oh, God. I knew you were going to do that. I set him up too well. That's my fault, guys.
Yep. Take the blame. Take it blamefully.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But yeah, that's a nice little interesting fact. I found that quite interesting. So, you know, I'm hoping we get to see some of these weird and wonderful teams that we don't usually see because of the expanded format. Is the expanded Euros format going to cheapen the tournament, do you think?
No, I just think it means it's the Faroe Isles time. I don't think it cheap. Some people have said that. No, I think there's enough good nations in Europe now to warrant it. Yeah, that's what I say.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It wasn't always the case, of course, but European football has it's leveled off in a way. It's equaled out because a lot of nations were playing catch up because some didn't exist before, let's say, the late 80s.
Yeah.
And now they've got decent sides all of a sudden. So, and just as Europe has changed, the shape of European football has changed, and I suppose we should applaud that and welcome the challenges it brings.
Yeah, and some of the smaller countries' best players aren't getting annexed off anymore. So yeah, it's a good thing all round, I'd say.
So, and of course, it's going to be in France, of course. So we could just easily hop over the channel and maybe even catch a game. I mean, we English fans are lucky that it's held in France to an extent.
Yeah, we've got a lot to be thankful for there because just across the road, basically, and
the big watery road that is the English Channel. But yes,
the big watery road. Learn English with Simon Cross. Yeah, so that's something that should see it become quite a popular tournament, I'd say. We all remember France '98. We had a lot of fun there, didn't we?
France '98 was a good one.
Yeah.
But it's going to be interesting, especially since that Euro 2020 is going to have that multi-country, multi-city format.
That's odd.
It's odd, but it might work. Is it worth it? It's probably worth experimenting. I'm not going to naysay it because I'm quite intrigued by the concept.
Yeah, it is intriguing.
I think ours is the only continent where you could actually do it, though. I mean, when you look for the fact that some areas of Brazil are 4 hours apart in time difference, you couldn't do it in South America.
Definitely not.
North America, you'd struggle. Asia, certainly not. Africa, again, logistically, you'd have to base it in one region of Africa to stand a chance. And Australasia just don't have. I don't think there's the stadiums all round to do it multi-country.
There's not much of a stadium outside of New Zealand and Australia. That's the problem.
Not really. No.
The little islands, they're very expensive to fly to.
So it's going to be an interesting format, and I part of me hopes it works, but I do like a host country. I do like because people learn more about the host country, not necessarily because they go there, but through watching the tournament itself.
Yeah, you learn all about the character of people.
Yeah, it's quite a nice little feature, and makes you feel warm inside. It improves standings of countries like South Africa getting an African World Cup, for example. There was a lot of emphasis on that.
Yeah,
and in some cases, it might help certain nations behave a bit better, if only for a few weeks.
Yeah. So it's good all round, I'd say. Good all round.
So, as I say, when we're podcasting away 6 years from now, we'll know if it was a good idea or not.
And if not, feel free to hang me by my face. And Simon by his remaining nostril. We're going to get some odd body alterations over the next 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, wow, eugenics. It's gonna shape rapidly. Speaking of teams that are shaping rapidly, in some cases, in some positions, maybe not in others. England played this week. We had a game against Denmark,
and it was a bit of a snore fest. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of wish I had other plans in a way, but I didn't. I watched the England game, and it hurts as a football fan, as an England fan, to say that the game, from an entertainment point of view, just wasn't worth the time.
Yeah, it was fairly boring. England weren't terrible. They weren't even that bad, but they weren't that good.
We
Wasn't
weren't
much
clinical.
invention.
We had opportunities to put our opponents away, but we didn't seem to take them.
Yeah, we didn't seem to want it that much, which is a little bit worrying because we should want to win every match, especially after we lost to Chile and Germany. But we won it in the end with a lovely Sturridge header after some good work by Lallana. Yeah, Lallana, did very well. He's I'd say he's got a couple of toes on the plane.
Well, I think Lallana, you're right. I think he's done a lot more. He's helped himself out a lot more with this performance this week. He had a good game. I think Luke Shaw had a good game too.
Yeah, what we saw of him, he did okay. But the bad news is, poor old Jack Wilshere's out for at least 6 weeks with a hairline fracture of his foot. There was a tackle, I think it was Aga.
Yeah, he can't catch a break, can he?
Way.
I know, terrible. But he just seems to be perennially injured. I mean,
he played on as well. That's the thing. He could have come off. He even went up for the second half.
I think he should have I don't know if that did make the situation worse. One can only assume it did.
Yeah.
But perhaps he didn't realise it was fractured. Perhaps he just thought it was just a strain. But
I'm sure he didn't realise it was fractured. But if you're in a bit of pain like that, it's probably best to come off. Especially if it's a friendly,
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. A man in Wilshere's position knows he's pretty much going to be on the plane if he's fit.
Yeah. So why risk that?
Yeah.
And, now he's put his position under some questioning because he'll be fit before the World Cup starts. But will he be?
He gives other English players a chance to shine in his absence.
Yeah, definitely.
And as we say, we've already seen one in Lallana. Certainly.
Yeah. He could be taking his spot.
He could.
One of the men of the match for me. Him and Sterling. Sterling did very well as well, I thought.
Oh, Sterling, I think he had a great game. Certainly, I think you're right there. But I just wanted to raise the left-back issue with you. We started with Cole. We brought on Shaw. I'm surprised we started with Cole, considering how little game time he's been getting.
I think he needed something to knock the rust off a little bit, so that's why what they were doing there.
Perhaps, but do you reckon his position in the plane is under threat, perhaps?
Definitely. They're not going to take 3 left-backs. So, if Shaw and Baines both have good seasons.
And Cole is just on the bench.
Yeah, I can't see him going.
He could be the high-profile dropping.
Yeah.
I mean, no one can doubt Ashley Cole's ability, but if you're not getting the game time, it's going to be hard to pick you.
Yeah, especially when you're the wrong side of 30 and playing in some tough conditions.
Exactly.
Which he is.
We've spoken about the high humidity in some of the stadiums we're going to be playing in. It's going to factor in. And
especially with a position where you need a lot of stamina like fullback. It's really going to be an interesting fight because even Baines isn't 100% sure that he's going to get on that plane. So
I think Baines is assured as number 2. It's just who will. I think he's guaranteed at least the backup slot.
I'd be very surprised if he didn't go, but it's a possibility. If Cole does well and if Hodgson prefers Shaw, it could happen.
Possibly, it could. I mean, who knows? I mean, we haven't yet done our England squad predictor. We will do one. That will be a mid-table crisis special. I mean, I can personally guarantee that right here, right now. That is something we are going to look into and do, but we'll do that just before the 30-man squad is named, I think. We'll try and name our 23. We'll try and be a bit ahead of the game. Gone on that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We will endeavour. We'll do our best.
Speaking of, and yeah, I know you fans out there like it when we do our best, and some of your fans have now made your feelings known via the wonderful form of social media that is YouTube.
Yeah, and it gives us insight into the kind of listeners we have when you read some of these comments. But one especially caught my eye. Good old Ibrahim Zulfikar was polishing his personal trophy in excitement at our most recent podcast. His exact phrase was, "Guys, I love listening to these guys. I love touching myself while listening to these guys. It's better than porn." Thank you very much, Ibrahim. We feel the same about you.
We love all forms of feedback, good and bad, and that's an extreme positive, you have to say.
Yeah, feed it back to us, Ibrahim. Feed it back.
Well, maybe not that back, but more feedback, yeah.
Send it to Simon's house in a jar. He don't mind.
Oh yeah, that's exactly the kind of mail I want right now.
You can tell which one it is. It's the one near Blackatree Road with the windows. All the other houses don't have windows.
Don't have glass windows anymore. But that's a story for another day.
Not cardboard windows, yeah. But yes, I'm afraid it's time to put yourself back in your trousers and tidy up. Because
Mid-Table Crisis is finished.
I know it's not finished this week, as we're not giving it up, are we?
No, we're not. No. We'll be doing this to the bitter end.
Don't worry, we're not going anywhere. But it is goodbye from this week. So it's goodbye from me, Tom Patrick.
And it's also goodbye from me, Simon Cross. So thank you all very much for listening, and we'll be back next week.
Yeah, take care of yourselves. Bye bye.
Goodbye.